2.2 Observation Checklist Group 1. You are listening to the book Let's Unfold the Wings of Creativity. The book is about development of scientific creativity. It is written by Dr. Nalini Gujrathi in Marathi and published by Jnana Prabodhini. Now, the book has been translated to English by Suchitra Chitrao and edited by Sulabhasi Dhaye, and you are listening to the English translation of the original book. We have been looking at chapter 2. The chapter is about observation skills. In part 2.1, we have looked at criteria for good observations. Now, we'll be looking at the observation checklist, and 2.2 is titled Observation Checklist Group 1. A note to all the listeners, if you want to listen to the episodes prior to this, you can check them out on the YouTube channel D Creations Resources. Chapter 2 Observation Skills, Subpart 2.2 Observation Checklist Group 1. Note: a puzzle was asked where leaves, caterpillar, and apple are assigned some unknown numbers. We need to make a guess. If you add the 3 leaves, you get the answer as 15. If you add 3 caterpillars, you get the answer as 9. If you add the 3 apples, you get the answer 30. And now the question asked is, if you add an apple, leaves, and caterpillar, what do you get? So basically the idea is there are some unknown numbers and you need to guess them. Here those numbers, instead of being given the variables x, y, z, etc., have been assigned a picture of leaves, caterpillar, and apple respectively. Now we continue. Pratibhatai, did all of you attempt the puzzle? It was based on minute observation skill, remember? Who can tell us the right answer with explanation of course? I could note down very few minute observations. Surjan, I couldn't draw any conclusions from the thermometer noting. Prerna, I drew 2 conclusions. Naveen, after observing the procedure for making tea, I could think of 3 experiments. Pratibhatai, that's nice. Now, let's see how to enhance our observation skills using the observation checklist. Let's divide the list into 2 groups of 5 each. Along with observations, the list contains some points which give some additional information. Okay? Unit 1. 1. Classification of objects. 2. Components and their construction. 3. Properties of the object. We'll make a separate list of these. 4. Functions, working and mechanism. 5. Uses of the objects. Let's consider our experiment with the candle to understand these 5 points. You've already noted down some observations, haven't you? The first point is classification of objects. This is not something we actually observe, but still, it provides information that is supplementary to observations. Hence, it is included in the checklist. We can classify objects in a number of ways. You are familiar with the classification of plants and animals, right? That system gives perfect classification of plants and animals. In chemistry, we classify substances as elements, compounds, and mixtures. Can we do something similar with candle? Srujan, a candle is a source of light. Our textbook says that wax is a mixture of hydrocarbons. So we can classify it in 2 different ways. Classification of candle. Objects like torch, petromax, wick lamps are some of the sources of light. If we consider source of light as a group, we can place candle in that group. We can also classify an object based on its chemical composition. According to this system, candle wax, which is actually paraffin wax, comes under mixture of hydrocarbons. Pratibhatai, that's right. Now, What can you observe about the different parts and their construction? Prerna. I can see two parts of the candle, the wax stick and the wick. Pratibhatai. What about the flame? Is it not part of the lighted candle? In case we forgot to record the wick, we are quite likely to forget all the observations about it. That's why it's necessary to list all the parts in the beginning. When it comes to the construction, we need to look into a lot of things: the dimensions, materials used, different parts, and how they are assembled. Let's not forget how the parts are interrelated to one another. Taking all this into account, what observations can you make about the candle? Naveen. Its height is almost equal to the span of my palm, that is roughly 10 centimeter. We can measure it accurately with a scale. The shape is cylindrical. The diameter is about the size of a segment of my little finger. This means that it is about 1 centimeter thick. Kalpana. Oh, looks like you are a maths wizard. Pratibhatai. Oh, stop pulling his leg, Kalpana. What is your addition to the list? Kalpana. The main components are wax and wick. An uncle of mine owns a small business unit. I have seen people making candles there. They have candle molds. They place wicks at the center and pour liquid wax in them. The wax sets in to form the candle. When it cools down, they take it out. It is a cottage industry. Pratibhatai. Wow! It will be a good idea to visit some cottage industries once in a while. Making of a candle is not an observation made on the spot. However, we should always note down such supplementary information. It comes in handy at times. Now let's have a look at the properties of the object under observation. In chemistry lessons, you have studied the physical and chemical properties of elements, compounds, metals, and nonmetals. While noting down our observations, we should consciously take these properties into account. Making a list in advance is very useful. Here is a list of 15 properties. We may keep adding more points to it. 1. Color and luster. 2. Odor. 3. Taste. Of course, never try it with unknown substances. 4. Sound. 5. Touch. If you notice, these first 5 are related to our 5 senses. Now let's continue. 6. State. 7. Weight. 8. Volume. 9. Shape. 10. Steady or moving. 11. Hard or soft. 12. Transparent or opaque. 13. Elastic. 14. Brittle or unbreakable. 15. Conductor of heat. Can you add anything to this list? Naveen. 16. Floats or sinks in water. Prerna. 17. Conductor of electricity. Pratibhatai. Good. Now each of you take up 4 or 5 of these points and check them for the candle. Prerna. Okay, let me start please. 1. Color. The candle and the wick are white. The flame is yellow and orangish outside, blue from inside and at the bottom. The core is black. Actually, this is Kalpana's observation. 2. Odor. By itself, it is odorless. When extinguished, it gives out a pungent smoky odor. I have seen this many times in the past, not now. 3. Taste. Not checked since chemical substances in the candle are unknown. 4. Sound. On falling down, it makes a soft thudding sound. Pratibhatai. For certain observations, like those about smell and sound, we should definitely perform the required actions. I mean actions like dropping down or blowing out the candle. We should also make a note of the sound heard while making our observations. Sounds like chirping of birds, clanking of metals, cascading sound of water flows, ticking of a clock, and so on. By the way, this reminds me of bird watching. It is a very important topic. Bird calls play a crucial role in it. To watch them, we need to move around very discreetly near water bodies and in jungles. That too, day in and day out. It is an experience worth going through. Srujan, may I? 5. Touch. The candle is smooth and the wick is rough. The flame is hot. I would never have looked at it so minutely. Pratibhatai. Color, odor, sound, taste, and touch are the properties of our five senses to detect. While making observations, we need to stress more on what we see. We should pay equal attention to using the other senses too. Negative observations should also be recorded. One point of caution: never taste any unknown substance or solutions. 6. State. Wax and wick are in solid state. On heating, wax melts and turns liquid. The flame is in gaseous state. 7. Weight. It is quite lightweight, can be easily lifted by one hand. I guess the weight is about 10 grams. Pratibhatai. It is a good idea to get familiar with small weights of 10 gram, 20 gram, 50 gram and 100 gram by handling them frequently. This will help you estimate weights of the objects under observation. Light and heavy are relative terms. It is better to be a bit more specific. Srujan. 8. Volume. Volume of a candle cannot be known by mere observation. We need to apply the formula for volume of a cylinder. Pratibhatai. That's right, Srujan. Still, there's one more way of measuring the volume. Take a measuring cylinder with a capacity of minimum 1000 cc. Fill it with enough water. Naveen. Enough to submerge the candle? Pratibhatai. Yes. Measure the volume of that water. Then immerse the candle and watch. Naveen. What if the candle does not get immersed? What if it floats? Pratibhatai. In that case, press it lightly and immerse it completely. Note down the increase in the water level. The volume of the candle is equal to the increase in the volume of water. Srujan. Oh, now I got it. The candle will displace as much water as its volume. It is a simple experiment. Pratibhatai. Yes, just like weights, we should have some idea about the volumes of substances. For instance, 1 teaspoon of a liquid is almost 5 ml. A cup of water is about 100 milliliter and a jug is about 1 liter. This helps us to get some estimate of volumes. Of course, for some observations, we have to use apparatus like weighing scales and measuring cylinders. Naveen. I will name the next 4 properties. 9. Shape. The candle is cylindrical. The wick is a straight line and the flame is heart or leaf shaped. Pratibhatai. We come across a large variety of shapes in nature. Plants, animals, leaves, flowers and fruits appear in various shapes, don't they? While recording our observations, we should not miss out on shapes. In fact, the details like tapering, shallow, bulky or sharp should be noted too. I am sure you have read that biologists discover new species of plants and animals. Minute observations are very crucial in such discoveries. They may discover a chameleon or a butterfly by observation. Naveen. 10. Steady or moving. The candle is steady. The flame is moving occasionally. It is flickering due to breeze. Pratibhatai. Can anyone give examples of things that move? Kalpana. Butterfly, fish, river water, cycle, fan, celestial bodies like stars and planets. Pratibhatai. Right. The mention of celestial bodies reminds me of something. Imagine how tough it must have been to note down the observations about the moving planets and still stars. About 1.5 to 2 millenniums ago, without telescopes or any such sophisticated instruments, Aryabhat, Varahamihir, Lalla and many other Indian astronomers noted down a lot of phenomena such as speeds of these bodies, lunar and solar eclipses, rotation of the earth, etc. Much before Galileo, they had discovered that the earth is round. What level of perseverance and dedication it must take to study the night sky for years together. You too may try stargazing sometime, with naked eyes or if possible with a telescope. Believe me, it is very interesting. Naveen, you still have to tell us two more observations. Naveen, 11. Hard or soft? It is measured on a scale of 1 to 10. I have learnt in chemistry that an object is called soft if, on scratching the surface with a fingernail, a scratch mark is seen. Otherwise, it is called hard. Leather and chalk stick are examples of soft objects, while glass, plastic are examples of hard objects. According to this test, a candle is soft. Kalpana. Okay. Coconut, jackfruit, and pineapple are hard from outside but soft from inside, aren't they? Naveen. Oh, yeah, that's right. I will go to the next property now. 12. Transparent or opaque. Transparent objects are see through. Opaque objects are the ones which don't allow light to pass through them. Plain glass and water are transparent things, while wood and iron are opaque. All the constituents of a candle are opaque. Pratibhatai. Here is a classic example of utilizing the property of transparency of plastic. If the body of a ballpoint pen is transparent, we can see the refill inside. If the refill too is transparent, we can keep the track of the ink level. This is how every property becomes valuable. Kalpana, it is your turn now. Kalpana. 13. Elastic. An object which gets stretched on applying force and comes back to its original shape and size on releasing the force is called elastic. A candle is not elastic. It cannot be stretched like a rubber band. 14. Brittle or unbreakable. A candle is not brittle as such, but it can break on falling from a height or if we try to break it with hands. 15. Conductor of heat. It is a bad conductor of heat. That's why we can hold it in our hand even when the tip is burning. Pratibhatai. You have made good observations using the 15 properties I discussed with you. Who will tell us some observations using the new properties which Naveen and Prerana suggested? Srujan. 16. Floating or sinking. We didn't drop the candle into water, but our earlier experience suggests that it will float. Prerna. How to check its electric conductivity? Kalpana. 17. Conductor of electricity. We need to pass current through it. That can be done using a battery, wire, and an electric bulb. Pratibhatai. Very good. If you notice any other property, that too should be noted. The fourth point is observation of the functions. Candle is mainly a source of light. It hardly provides any heat. This particular observation leads us to the question, what exactly happens when it burns? While searching the answer to this question, we come across a lot of interesting information. When we think about it, we are motivated to conduct further experiments. This is something like a faint trail leading to Wonderland. Let's see what happens when a candle burns. You may know that it is composed of hydrocarbons. When it burns, the hydrocarbons combine with oxygen in the air. It is a chemical reaction. During this process, water vapor and carbon dioxide are produced. At the same time, heat and light are given out. Carbon dioxide and water vapor cannot be seen, but their existence can be proved experimentally. Srujan. We can conduct quite a few experiments on candles with this information, can't we? For instance, we all know that if a lighted candle is placed in a bowl of water and then covered with a glass, the candle is put out in a while and water rises up in the glass. We can measure the amount of this water risen in it. What happens if we take 2 or 3 candles instead of 1? If the carbon dioxide is soluble in water, how will it affect the water level? What will be the result of litmus test for water in that bowl? We can conduct lots of such experiments. Pratibhatai. What you say is right. To become curious after keenly observing something, to ask questions and to conduct experiments to find the answers are very important steps in enhancing our creativity. The fifth point is observations regarding utility of the object by collecting information to understand its significance. Who will tell me the uses of a candle? Prerna. Tai, I will answer that. Primary use of a candle is for light. On thinking a little deeply, I remembered some other uses. Apart from getting light, we can use it to seal polythene bags. Women have another special use of it. They use candles to draw henna designs on palms. It is also used in batik printing. Naveen, oh wow! We couldn't have thought of all that. I have seen it being used in two more cases. That was when I visited a canning center. Small scale centers use wax to seal the jam bottles. They pour a layer of wax after filling the bottle with jam. That makes it airtight. They also apply a thin layer of wax on the labels to protect them from moisture. Pratibha. That's nice. Today we discussed classification of objects, components and their construction, properties, functions and uses. Normally, while observing a candle, we do not record the observations of its uses. These observations are related but made at some other time. Still, they are important. In the same way, while actually observing a candle, we think of many ideas and experiments related to the candle. It is very important to note these thoughts for developing our creativity. In the next class, let us discuss the other part of the checklist. Here is a small activity for you. You all must be having a copper jar or copper cup at home. Use our checklist and note down your observations of those copper vessels. This will help you remember the checklist properly. Exercise. Question 1. Observe a cell under microscope and note down your observations about its components and their arrangements. For instance, cells of onion peel cell or algae or amoeba. Question 2. Take a piece, a wire or a block of iron and note the observations about its properties. Question 3. Note down observations of a chalk piece. Consider only its function and uses. Thank you. You were listening to section 2.2 of chapter 2 from the book Let's Unfold the Wings of Creativity, a book about development of scientific creativity. Original book is written by Dr. Nalini Gujrathi in Marathi. It has been translated by Suchitra Chitrao, edited by Sulabha Sidhaye, and now it is being read out to you by Dr. Deepti Sidhaye. Keep listening to the chapters. Thank you.